Well, Happy New Year, and welcome to 2023's very first taste of Work in the Light. You know, we're going to continue talking about leadership lessons from the life of Moses, and today we're going to talk about something that doesn't seem like leadership, but it has an effect on leadership, and that's excuses, making excuses. So, how do you deal with excuses from those around you? You know, the partner who always seems to have an excuse for why they can't do something, or a team member who always seems to say, I just don't have the skill or the talent to execute something, and it's better if someone else did it, like you maybe. Or the employee who always seems to say, I've got too much of a workload and I can't take on a new project right now. Or maybe it's just a perennial basic excuses. My bad. I forgot. I know I forgot before, but I'll get to it. Don't worry about it. One excuse is bad enough, but when there's a litany of excuses lined up to avoid doing something, it can get really annoying. That is, of course, unless you're the one giving all the excuses. But what if God is the one doing the asking, and if you're the one he's asking? Well, that's what happened to Moses, and let's see why he made some excuses here. So, if talking burning bush weren't jarring enough for Moses to experience, what God commanded him to do was, God was sending Moses back to Egypt to confront Pharaoh with setting Israel free. Now, the last time Moses tried that, he ended up in Pharaoh's most wanted list. During God's conversation with Moses about this calling, this task that he wanted him to do, Moses lines up not one, but 5 different excuses to avoid going back to Egypt to challenge Pharaoh. The first one is, I'm a nobody. Get someone who's more important. The second one, who are you? I don't know who you are. Why should I trust you? You just didn't trust God, didn't know God. The third one was, no one's going to believe me when I tell them a burning bush told me to come and save them. Who's going to actually believe that? The fourth thing, he says, I'm physically not able. I stammer. My ability to speak is just not good enough. It disqualifies me for this job. And finally, the fifth thing he says is, you know what? I'm not emotionally equipped to deal with this right now. You need to get someone else. Well, Moses was not let off the hook by God, and he doesn't let us off the hook either when it comes to excuse making. Here's 2 passages that both encourage and scare me. One is in the Old Testament, and the other is in the New Testament. The first one is this: the Lord will accomplish all that concerns me. That's in the Old Testament, in the Psalms. The second is, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. That's in the New Testament, spoken or written by the Apostle Paul. Now, you would think that both of these would be encouraging passages because it's talking about accomplishing and actually meeting a goal. But they're also scary to me because they both point to the same fact, and that it's not me who will pull off the challenging, the trial, the impossible to do or to experience or to avoid doing something or to avoid saying something or to say something. It's God who's going to do it in and through me. You see, these verses have strengthened me to minister in situations that I have never done before. To violent people who scared me, to hopelessly ill people who I just felt I had nothing to offer to give them hope, or to individuals seeking guidance from me that I knew would change the course of their lives. I mean, why were they asking me? Or to make business decisions that I knew would cost revenue, but I knew it was the right thing to do. Or to not work on projects that I felt compromised my faith, in spite of what my partners may have thought. Yeah, these verses kind of encouraged me, but scared me, because they knew that I could say, no, I really couldn't say an excuse. I couldn't give an excuse to God for not following through what he was asking me to do. So here's some lessons that we could take away from this whole excuse episode with Moses. First of all, there are no excuses when it comes to God's call in your life to do something or to be something. His provision and his power is behind his calling. So a lack of self-confidence is not an excuse. A lack of knowledge is not an excuse. A lack of credibility is not an excuse. A lack of physical ability is not an excuse. And a lack of emotional ability is not an excuse. So what does this look like maybe in the workplace? Well, first of all, how do you handle excuses from your teammates and employees? Do they know that you will support them in whatever way you can? Do they know that you're going to help empower them to help them accomplish the task that you're giving them. Another thing is, do they have the confidence in your confidence in them? Did you hear what I said? Do they have the confidence in your confidence in them? You see, they need to know that you really believe that they could do this. And that will help move them beyond the excuse giving that you might receive. So your work is a calling from God. And you are to bring His presence and His power to those whom you work. And in this whole area of excuses, listen to this. Do not let excuses cheat you out of parting the sea moments or experiences as God does the improbable and maybe even the impossible through you. So, until we meet again, number one, don't give God any excuses. Know that He's with you to accomplish it, and He'll give you strength to accomplish it. And then second, work in the light.